A Bullitt County family is suing the cemetery where their son is buried. They say the harassment started just days after his funeral and hasn't stopped.
Family cemetery, that peace is paramount. In fact, the desire for peace is what pushed the plot into existence.
I should have been able to bury my son on July 10th and start closure, start the healing process, to have some sort of peace.
Peace is something Brian and Glenda Holder say they've never experienced at the Brooklyn Cemetery in Pioneer Village, where their 21-year-old Sean was buried last summer.
When the service was complete, Brian and I stayed at the grave with Sean until they lowered his coffin and put the lid on his vault.
Sean died 1 day shy of his 22nd birthday, an unexpected death that rocked his parents' world.
The next morning, Brian and I got up, and a lot of the flowers that were sent to our house were actually the flowers that should have been on his grave. So Brian and I loaded them back up. That was on Tuesday morning, and we took them back to the cemetery. Came back the next day, it was gone. And I'm like, why would somebody be taking this stuff?
The heartbroken mother didn't have to wait long for an answer. This letter from an attorney was in her mailbox when she got home.
I'm reading it, and that's the letter that the cemetery had sent me that said there was a lien placed on Sean's grave that had been paid for since 2011, 10 years prior to Sean's death, and that no memorials would be allowed on his grave until my husband and I paid to have their parking lot resealed.
The cemetery was demanding more than $2,000 to repair pavement damaged by tire marks left behind by one of Sean's friends after the funeral.
The whole entire time this was going on, we put on Sean's grave they would take. At one point, twice in one day.
Caught on camera, cemetery staff grabbed memorials left behind by loved ones. Sometimes family found the items dumped somewhere else on property. Other times, the flowers were stashed away in a staff member's car. The driver who damaged the pavement paid the cemetery in August, according to the Holders, who then shifted their focus to picking a monument to mark Sean's plot.
She said that only approved vendors can place monuments in the cemetery. So I asked if I could get a list of approved vendors, and she advised me they don't have a list. Her only guidance is that she sells headstones.
At a loss, Glenda Holder decided to contact the family who laid the headstone she liked most. She found out who made it, signed a contract with the company, and started designing the stone. The monument company sent it to Brooklyn Cemetery staff for approval, and the design was denied.
I can't even put him a monument on his grave.
The monument design was not denied once, but twice.
After the second time that Sean's headstone was denied, we decided that we would just move forth with the private cemetery.
Glenda Holder says they filed the paperwork, got the permits, paid the cemetery fees, and hired a funeral director to oversee the disinterment. Then they say the cemetery gave them a contract.
They can't sign this because it presumes so many things that aren't correct and gives them a pass to many areas of just ordinary liability.
Now, attorney Andrew White is representing the Holders in a new fight in court. He's filed a lawsuit accusing the cemetery and cemetery owners of abuse of process, extreme emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and outrageous conduct.
People who are in the bereavement business shouldn't be behaving themselves this way.
An attorney explaining the Brooks would not be answering any of our questions, and instead they provided a statement which reads, Brooklyn Cemetery has been helping people in difficult moments for over 40 years. We have never had issues like this with anyone.
It's been over a year. This should have been done by now. We shouldn't have to be still waiting.
According to court documents, the cemetery owners deny the allegations and maintain the cemetery had the authority to enforce its reasonable rules as set forth in the Brooklyn Cemetery Rules and Regulations. There's no trial date set in this case.